So for episode 4 of Doctor Who, I was expecting a monster program and I was disappointed. We'll have more after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. And in watching episode 4 of season 11 of Doctor Who, Arachnids in the UK, I was expecting to go back to a more classic Doctor Who presentation in which the Doctor and friends encounter alien spiders that have invaded Britain, and that they would find some way to defeat them or talk them out of it or get them to go back to wherever they came from, and that would be the story. There's nothing wrong with that story. That is a standard Doctor Who type of show, and how the Doctor overcomes it is always the more interesting part instead of how it comes out. We know, of course, everything's going to be okay at the end. But it does not look like that's what this was about. When we started up, it was reasonable enough. They start in a hotel and they show down the hallways and things, and it gave me kind of an impression of The Shining. If you remember The Shining, where they went up and down the halls of this abandoned hotel, that was interesting, and I think it kind of harkened back to that. I loved the way when the TARDIS was traveling, it showed that they could go down different tubes, different openings of the time vortex. And that's the first time we've ever seen this. I like their effect of the time vortex. It is not the same as in the opening credits. They have something completely different, but it looks like a time vortex should look, whatever that should be. And I was impressed with that. And I saw, you know, the various places that you could turn off and go down, and the TARDIS went down the path that took them back to Earth. I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's new from any Doctor Who show that we've seen. They mentioned that the Doctor had sisters, or rather that the Doctor was a sister, which is to say that the Doctor portrayed a person who had taken vows, only to find that the community they were in actually were up to something else, and that had to be dealt with. Illusions of earlier adventures, and almost an expectation that perhaps we have not seen all of the Doctor's regenerations, although it's been pretty much established in the Matt Smith time that all of the regenerations of this Doctor have been seen by us in the television series. So it's fairly obvious that the Doctor was not a woman before, but they're trying kind of to rewrite history to say that maybe she was. I'm not certain about this. Nan is still a character. She appears as kind of figments of Graham's imagination, and I have a feeling that this is going to recur in the series, where Nan is going to reappear as it becomes convenient for him to think about her. And therefore, a very interesting character gets to continue to be used, although they don't bring her back to life. They just have her kind of in flashbacks and in memories. It's kind of an interesting device, and it was used similarly in 6 Feet Under, which was a series that was made for Showtime some years ago about a funeral director, and they would talk to the deceased, although they really weren't. They were having an internal dialogue and imagining the deceased, but on camera we see the deceased interacting with the live person. And we see this with Nan, and that's kind of an interesting device that they're using, and I imagine they'll use that further. Also, the Doctor talks about having spider webs, if they were the size of a pencil, they could stop an airplane, and she found that out in dealing with Amelia Earhart. So a little name dropping there. It's not unusual for the Doctor to name drop well-known people. We see for the first time psychic paper used by this Doctor in order to get the businessman who owns the hotel to believe that they are inspectors and are able to gain access to the hotel and look around. That's kind of interesting. And when he says he's running for president, she says, "So you're Ed Sheeran," which I thought was kind of a funny line. All that said, our main villain here was a businessman. They specifically say that he's not Trump and that he doesn't like Trump, and he's going to be running for president of the United States in 2020. And yet, when they say he's not Trump, they are trying to draw somebody that is a businessman, someone who's concerned about the bottom line, who's not really concerned with the details about how things are done. He does not know about the toxic waste dumps. He just knows how good the deal was if you build a hotel on top of an old coal mine. And if you have a toxic waste treatment that goes into the old coal mine, that all seems like good deals, but he doesn't know much about the details or what was put in it, or that there were toxic waste elements in there, or that spider carcasses that might not have been dead were put in there as well. All of these things kind of give this guy a amoral kind of tone, and the show itself seems to be saying, well, we shouldn't put the coal miners out of work by building a hotel on it. We shouldn't use the coal mines for waste dump, and we certainly shouldn't have toxic waste, and then we shouldn't be mean to spiders. And with all of these messages through here, it takes me out of Doctor Who and makes me think, you know, why are they trying to push a political agenda? Even if you agree with it, that's not what I'm here to see. I'm here to see fantasy. I want to see science fiction. I want to see adventure. I want to see something that will take me away from the four walls of today, not remind me of it. Now, I read all of the comments, which you can comment below, by the way. I invite you to do so. And there have been people who are saying that this show seems to have a social agenda from the very beginning. And I've been trying to not notice that. Although I have to say, on further reflection on the show about Rosa Parks, that perhaps, yeah, they were doing a social message there rather than just talking about an important point in history. And they were taking a more active role perhaps than they should have. Although they didn't convince Rosa Parks to stay seated on the bus. They were on the bus. Could they have not done things in the background where Rosa Parks would never have met the doctor? Or was it just necessary for Ryan to meet Martin Luther King? Was it necessary for the doctor's coat to be repaired by Rosa Parks? Was it necessary for all of this? I'm starting to think about this. And while Rosa was handled with a light touch, Arachnids in the UK is not handled with a light touch. In fact, it was rather heavy-handed. And that concerns me. If that's what this series is going to be about, maybe it won't be the best series. I wouldn't mind seeing some Cybermen and Daleks and the Master and anybody else that they could come up with, or new monsters or new nemesis that don't have a social message packed with it at the same time. That's my thoughts on this. If you have others, if you think that this is an important forum for putting forth political ideas, I want to hear about it. If you agree with me that politics has its place and Doctor Who has and we don't have to mix them together. It's not necessary to mix them together. We get plenty of one from everywhere else. Do we need it in Doctor Who as well? Whatever you think. I want to hear about it in the comments. Also, I'd like you to subscribe. If you like these videos, I'd also like for you to ring the bell if you want to see more videos. And I'd like a like. That would be nice. Likes are nice. Till next time, don't go far.